You may not have a note of music in you, but if you live in Ireland, there's one musical instrument you couldn't help being familiar with. You'll find it on our coins, if you're lucky enough to have any, on our income tax forms, and on all those letters that begin a colour with reference to your communication of the 17th inst. We wish to remind you, and they're usually reminding you, to pay up or else. Yes, there can't be a day that passes, but you'll see a picture of a harp in front of you, for good or ill. And yet, and this is the funny thing about it, you'll go quite a long way before you'll hear Ireland's national instrument played. I mean actually played. And to find out just why this state of affairs has come about, we'll have to go back a bit into history. To the days when no big house in Ireland was complete without its harper. These men were carrying on a tradition that stretched back to the earliest days of Gaelic civilization, as can be seen from pictures and carvings of harps on tombstones, high crosses, and in early manuscripts. The harper wasn't just an employee around the place like a gardener or a chauffeur. He was very much an honoured guest, playing for special occasions like weddings and funerals, and often taking pupils. It took a long time to make a good harper. You had to start before you were 10 years of age, or your fingers would be too stiff. And if you stuck to your lessons, the chances were that by the age of 18 you might have developed into a true professional. There were 3 kinds of music you had to be able to play. Suan-Tree, which no one could listen to without falling into a pleasant doze. Now that wasn't considered rude in those days. Like the character in Sean O'Casey's play who says, "Give us one of your shut-eye ones." Actually, it was a sort of lullaby, I suppose you could call it. Then there was Gull-Tree, which nobody could hear without bursting into tears. And again, no one took that as a criticism of the performance either. I suppose it was like a lament. And the third kind was called Geontry, which made people laugh fit to burst. Now, if you could do all that, and it was a tall order, and compose tunes into the bargain, you might consider yourself the equal of that great Turlough O'Callaghan, often called the last of the Irish harpers. Callaghan was born in Newtown, near Nobber in the county Meath, in the year 1670. We don't know very much about his family, though his father might have been a blacksmith. Anyway, he worked for people called MacDermid Rowe, and when they moved to the county Roscommon, the Callaghans went with him. Young Turlough would have been about 14 at this time. 4 years later, he caught smallpox and went completely blind. In those days, smallpox was very common, very nasty, and virtually incurable. Now, there weren't many things blind people could do to earn a living in those days. If you were lucky and if you moved in the right circles, you could become a musician, a piper or a fiddler maybe, or a harper. Mrs. MacDermid Rowe took an interest in the young man and had him taught not only how to play the harp, but how to write music for it as well. Remember, he was 18, and all the experts agreed that he was really starting too late ever to become a really professional performer. 3 years later, however, Callaghan was trained and equipped and ready for the road, ready to set off on the circuit of the big houses, playing and singing and composing special tunes for members of the important families. Tunes, particularly jolly tunes, written in praise of a patron, were usually called planksties, and Callaghan's customers must have been numerous, judging from the planksties written in their honour. Planksty George Brabazon, Planksty Kelly, written for a Mr. Kelly of Tulsks. Even Planksty Drew must have been one of my relatives. We're a long-tailed family. Planksty Drury, written in honour of Elizabeth Goldsmith, cousin of Oliver Goldsmith and wife to John Drury. And this one, Bumpers Squire Jones, written to repay the hospitality of Thomas Jones of Moneyglass and played by Aileen McCran.